going. Thank you.
Hitting record.
I am going on my end as
Same.
well. Excuse me. All right, let's do an intro.
Yeah.
Here we go. There we are. All right. The thing about superpowers is they're always a metaphor. Whether we're talking about MCU or DC or Carrie, these supernatural abilities are ultimately just a hyperbolic stand-in for something we're all capable of as people. Tony Stark's wealth and hubris lead to Iron Man. Superman's invincibility and super strength speak to our anxieties about how not everything can be solved with brute force. And the famous quote from Spider-Man goes, "With great power comes great responsibility." It's depressing how timely Cronenberg's 1983 film adaptation of Stephen King's The Dead Zone feels. I think it's evergreen, though, that politics are just always chock full of iconoclasts and demagogues who are willing to destroy the world to secure their tough guy legacy. But the heart of this story is a school teacher, an everyman who is cursed with psychic premonitions, ones that can not only help him avert small disasters, but also to see the hearts of people. By seeing beyond the surface narrative of a human, Johnny Smith can see what they do, which is the perfect example of who they are. I say this American everyman, John Smith, is cursed with this superpower, and that, I believe, is true, but it is also a gift. A gift all of us have metaphorically to see the truth about people, about Trump, about the police state, about Hollywood leches, about our friends, about our families. And that gift is only information. It's what we do with that information that makes people's lives better, that truly matters. Now, I'm not saying assassination is a great plan in any circumstance, but this movie is playing with the baby Hitler hypothetical, so that's just where we are. And Johnny has to make a choice to stand up for what he believes is right, what he knows is right. The terrifying concern here, though, is there are so many others who think they are just as right, which that movie deals with as well. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Okay, so I think the would you kill baby Hitler game is played out. So let me ask a reverse of that question.
Okay.
Would you make friends with... No, I'm just kidding. Let me ask, if you could undo the untimely death of any historical figure, who would you do?
Oh.
This is short notice, so I don't think you have to save the world here, but I'm just curious.
Cleopatra.
Oh, that's interesting.
I recently read an amazing book about the history of the city of Alexandria. The author's name I can't recall off the top of my head. I'm very sorry. But it goes from Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was going to be possibly number two. But it goes through the Ptolemies and it had the Cleopatras and on up to modern day. And Cleopatra, man, she was the shit. She was amazing. And she kind of got a short shrift. You know? Like I think if Egypt had gotten like 20 more years of Cleopatra, the world would have been profoundly different.
Oh, that's so interesting. I don't know that much about Cleopatra, so that's a curiosity that I'm gonna have to look more into.
Cleopatra the seventh, I think, because there were many Cleopatras before her. But
well,
the
I'm
Cleopatra
just now learning this. Okay.
The Cleopatra that we all know, the Mark Antony and Cleopatra,
Okay.
is that one.
Interesting. I was trying to think who this would be, and I just kept coming back to I wish that Bullet had finished Reagan or whatever. And so I was like, no, got to get back on task of who you save. I was thinking about, I'm really curious about Pope John Paul the First, who was this little-known pope from the 70s. Perp. He was a little-known perp. He was unknown pope. And but when he got the job, I think he's one of the shortest lived popes, if not the shortest lived pope.
Really?
He died very quickly in office. Well,
Assassinated?
he died of natural causes. However, a lot of conspiracy theories are like the church absolutely poisoned and killed this man because when he got into office, he was like, one of the problems with the Catholic Church has been that we just hoard so much money and jewels and we should be giving those away to the poor. And he started doing a lot of executive orders to give things away to people who need them. And they were like,
go with me. What if we were more Christ-like? And everybody's like, oh, this one got to go.
But he wasn't in office for that long, so it's a lot of assumptions there that would have ever worked anyway, even if he had said,
oh, sure,
let it be done.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just curious about Pope John Paul the
Oh
First.
man,
But
that would have changed like the face of the Catholic Church.
yeah,
What do you know what time period he was?
he was right before John Paul II. So it was
Oh,
him. He died, and they were like, "Let's get a new one. Here's this cool Polish guy," and we got
oh my
JP2.
gosh, so like modern era.
Yeah, like 70s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's a really salacious book that I read many years ago that I still have. I think it's out of print. It's called In God's Name. I say salacious because it is written like a tabloid
Oh,
feature,
sure. Yeah.
but I loved that book. I love conspiracies.
Ooh,
Back,
interesting.
remember when conspiracy theories were fun?
Yeah, I know. We're like kicky and fun.
Uh-huh.
Involved way more anal probing.
Instead of just like the default thought process of anyone in a
Hmm.
government position.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we got a
You know,
nice escapist film this week,
we
Cecil.
did. It's so funny. I did not, I've seen this movie before, but I
Same.
was very late to it. Like I was four when this movie came out,
Uh-huh.
and this is not it's not a Stephen King, and it's also not a David Cronenberg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, agreed.
Like it's has supernatural elements and the psychic abilities, but it's not the Stephen King like scary that I think he's kind of known for. It's more human, it's more drama. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, and clearly, I mean, it's not The Deer Hunter, even though Christopher Walken's in it, but it is much more human drama led rather than, I don't know, fucking killer clowns eating your children.
Yes, yes.
And it's
It,
also not David Cronenberg in that it's not the quote body horror we've come to love him for, but it is about an outsider, which I think is like when you look at all of David Cronenberg's, including like Naked Lunch, including M. Butterfly, like it's about a true societal outsider,
mhm.
someone who is alienated from society. So it is a David Cronenberg, but also not.
And it is a bit of a Stephen King movie. It has those elements of, people who use God's name
Oh my God, yes.
for their belief system, but it's
Yep.
milder in a way than a lot
Hmm.
of his stories can be. This definitely, if you've not seen this movie, but you've seen Shawshank Redemption, I think this
Hmm.
falls more into the Shawshank Redemption line
Yes.
of Steven
Yes.
Spielberg or Stephen King
Yeah.
movie adaptations. And it's an exploration of a person in a really under the guy under the rule of a really horrible person, I guess,
Yeah.
to some extent. And I find this movie really fascinating to revisit. It is not very horror-ish. It's more tense and
Hmm.
drama-like, but with this supernatural element. Um, Say hello to everyone, Robert, who
Meow.
is he really needs love and attention. And unfortunately, he's just going to have to hear a one-sided conversation about the dead
Oh.
zone. Okay. One, I was very excited to see on the opening credits, produced by Deborah Hill. This was John
Oh yeah.
Carpenter's writing partner on the
Yep.
Halloween movies. And we've got Johnny Smith, played by Christopher
Johnny Smith.
Walken.
Okay, Stephen King. You naming
Uh-huh.
your character Johnny Smith.
It's so funny. It's been a long time since I've read The Dead Zone, so I'm really incapable of doing any comparative thing here. But I do love that this movie kind of is about what are you going to do when you know something is wrong with the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so naming your character John Smith gives you kind of
John Q. Everyman.
yeah, that's totally what it is. It is like Pilgrim's Progress sort of shit, and
Yeah.
it's you are the main character, and what do you do? Which is a question we ask ourselves in horror movies all the time. I think a
Sure.
good horror movie should have you asking, "What would I do in this situation?"
You know what? Actually, so on our last Patreon, only $5 a month to join.
Hmm.
One of the questions brought up was if you had to live in a horror movie, what horror movie would you choose? And honestly, like my runner-up answer was going to be The Dead Zone.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want a Cassandra complex? You know, like out of all the horror tropes,
Hmm.
Cassandra complex, you're kind of getting off easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not dealing with any kind of there's no supernatural slasher chasing you through the woods and you
Right?
can't die sort of thing.
Right?
Yeah. Well, he is. well, he is quothing the raven. He is
Yep.
quothing the raven to his
Evermore.
class. Yeah.
Oh, Christopher Walken. It's, like when they say, like, we're getting to that era where, like, a lot of these actors of this age are kind of falling.
Uh-huh.
Man, where Christopher Walken goes, like, he broke the mold. Like, there is no one like Christopher Walken. There's a lot of character actors, there's a lot of really great American actors, but he really is an outlier, I think.
Hmm.
Like in the world of American character, of your Bobby De Niro's and your Al Pacinos, like he is up there, but he's so same but different.
Yeah. He's so, it's so nice to see him in a leading role
Yes.
because he, even in short bursts, he fills the screen with charm. He always
Oh yeah.
has.
Yeah.
If you watch if you watch Severance, you understand that in his older age, he
Yeah.
exudes so much, like you love him the moment you meet him.
Hmm.
And even if you can't trust him, I think one of the greatest, 2.5 minutes by an actor in film that I've seen is him in Pulp Fiction. When he shows
Oh,
up for this
sure.
one
Yeah.
monologue,
Yep.
it's so funny, it's so specific, it sets up our Bruce Willis kid, sets up Butch so
Uh-huh.
well. It gives him his whole backstory without it being a chronological telling of Butch's life.
Sure.
It's just about this fucking watch. And it's a
Yeah.
great, great performance by him. And I'll even go to him in the Fat Boy Slim video where he
Oh
is
my
just
God. Yeah.
dancing through this fucking hotel.
Yeah. Because he's like, I'm getting older. I used to be a tap dance man. Man, I wish people knew I was a tap dance man.
Yeah.
Get it on film.
And here he's
I
given an entire film and he is
and he's
so
like
good.
he's the straightest straight man. Like he's so like it is interesting casting someone as non as unique as Christopher Walken as an everyman.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is his vulnerability. A lot of it is just sort of his like you said, the sort of the he is, I think when people, there's a lot of talk nowadays about alpha males, this, that, and the other, but like really he is an alpha male in that it's like he exudes like a singular ability to inspire and also do his own thing.
Yeah.
Like his scenes with the kid, Chris, the tooted. I was like, man, this like I want Christopher Walken as an English teacher as my dad, as my
Absolutely.
as my surrogate father, because my father's a dick.
Yeah, absolutely. And his connection to everyone in this feels real. It does give you the everyman vibe, which is that
Yeah.
he's kind of got to go through the classic superhero arc, the
Yep.
reluctant hero,
Yep.
and I think we all sort of understand there's a lot of gentleness in the characters that is unbefitting of a Stephen King story, and I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That we don't quite have the greaser here, but we
Hmm.
do have the good cop, corrupt cop thing
Yeah.
going a
We
little
also
bit.
have just on the verge of we have kind of like the Bible thumping psychopath
Uh-huh.
is kind of almost split into two characters, one good and one evil,
Mm-hmm.
you
Because we have
know.
mom.
We have mom who, like as soon as she's like, "You're a gift from the Lord," and I was like, "Oh
Oh no.
no." No. And then you have Colleen Dewhurst as Henrietta Dodd, and I was like, "Oh, okay, there's the flip side, evil side of it."
Yeah. So he's a teacher. He is dating Sarah, played by Brooke Adams,
Ugh,
who we have seen
classic.
before in
Amazing.
the 70s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they're just such a sweet, wholesome couple.
That's
Like
it.
the date he takes her on after school is just to go to the carnival, to the
Yeah.
fairgrounds, and just ride a
Like
roller coaster.
wintertime roller coaster.
Uh-huh.
Come on. Adorable.
Super adorable. But so while they're on this post-school roller coaster trip, something happens where he gets a headache, a premonition, a something happens
Yeah.
while he's on this roller coaster.
The tilt-a-whirl dislodged something in his brain.
Yeah. And yeah, he's just feeling a little down, but it just sort of It feels a little bit more like
Yeah.
somebody getting a migraine,
Yeah.
maybe. It's a little debilitating. She's like, "You can stay the night." And he's like, some things are worth waiting for.
Carpe diem, my friend.
I did have a little bit of eyebrow raising at the scene because he also says, "I love you, and I'm gonna marry you." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Y'all haven't slept together yet?"
I know, right? I know. This is a little like naive,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
a little naive.
I mean, given who his mother is, there's a
Oh,
good
that is
possibility that
true.
he could
That
be
is very true.
sexually repressed into his 30s, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's absolutely.
But on his drive home, Cecil, it's a dark and stormy night.
Oh my God. Those truckers,
Hmm.
Stephen King hates a trucker. They're
Boy,
gonna kill your kid and turn him into a zombie. They're gonna be filled with milk and they're gonna put you in the dead zone.
I love that it's a tanker of milk that
I
crashes
know.
in front of him,
Yeah.
and he absolutely crashes into that tanker. And the next thing we know, next thing we know, Sarah is visiting him in the hospital,
Yes.
and he is in a coma.
Yeah. I love the choice not to do a 5 years later on the screen.
Hmm. Let us
Because the
figure it
first
out.
time, the first time I saw this, I didn't know the story when I first saw this. So it was very much a shock. Like something is off because like you said, he's like, no bandages. What
Yeah,
happened? And we're going, no bandages. But it's like letting us discover along with him the time jump is so good.
yeah. He's at the Weizak clinic, run by Dr. Sam Weizak, and Dr. Sam seems like a very nice guy, but also we are setting up a little bit of the evil doctor's trope, like that's a
Shady,
classic thing. And I like
controlling
that this
doctor.
movie
Yeah.
kind of avoids some of the basic tropes of what you think a horror movie can turn into or
Hmm.
a classic horror story. His parents come to visit. We got very religious mom who
Yeah.
lets slip
Yeah.
that he's been out for 5 long years and now reborn unto me, she
Oh,
says.
oh my. Okay. All right. All right, girl.
She's a little like the priest in The Omen in the sense that I think what she says it's delivered in a way that's a little extreme, and I think
Yes.
if she just toned down the language, she'd seem like
Yeah,
a very
exactly.
normal mother.
Yes. My question with this is I find it unlikely slash unrealistic that the doctor is by his side when he wakes up and that his parents are visiting when he wakes up.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know?
Very shorthand. They really just like we just shortcutted it for the sake of the movie, I guess.
Yeah, because like Johnny like opens his eyes and the doctor's like, hello. Have you been standing there for 5 years?
Uh-huh.
Don't you have other patients to get to?
Yeah. So anyways, so he also learns, he asks his mom, what about Sarah? And she
Oh
says,
no.
cast her from your thoughts. She turned her
I know.
back on you.
She cleaves to another man.
Oh dear.
Uh,
Just tone it
Okay.
down. Just
Okay.
you're
Like
at
you can
like an
tell
8, and I think this conversation needs like a 3 or 4.
you're not the star of this show, ma'am. You're here to visit your son. This is not about you.
Uh-huh.
And you can tell that mom is so much more mad at Sarah than like that there was like either a conversation or she has been like banging pots and pans around when Sarah stopped visiting Johnny at the hospital.
Yeah. So then we have a scene wherein he is sleeping and the nurse comes in to just I wrote treating Johnny, but really she just comes in to pat his forehead with a wet
Well,
towel.
she's just like changing out the towels
Yeah.
and she notices he's sweating profusely.
Hmm.
She's like, oh, let me put some ice chips on your forehead here.
And he wakes up suddenly and grabs her hand. And then suddenly we see a house fire and a child inside this house screaming.
I fucking love this.
Yeah.
Like, I love the way the visions are presented as extremely realistic, but it's a blending of realities.
because he's suddenly in that room, or
He's
also his bed sheets are on fire at one point.
Yes, like he's in that, which apparently it was real. And the whole thing is that like he looks really sweaty because he was covered in like fire protected gel,
Yeah,
and it just looked really good on film. So they're like, oh, he's really sweaty.
that's
Awesome,
awesome.
keep it. But I love it that it's like the fire, like the fire seems to be in his hospital room. Then he's in the house. And it's that like membrane is kind of penetrated.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. I love the liminal,
Hmm.
moving from vision world to actual world, and how they, not just that he's zapped over there, but then when he's coming
Yes.
back, there's elements of that world that are in his
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And he says to the nurse, Amy. And she's like, that's my daughter's name. And he
There's
says,
still time.
your daughter Amy is in the house. It's not too late. And he screams at her to hurry up. And then we cut to a scene of firefighters saving little Amy from a burning
Yeah.
house with mom there. One thing that this movie doesn't shortcut, which I found sort of interesting, because a lot of movies shortcut this, which is somebody comes out of a coma and then they're just getting up and walking around.
Right. You have
Like
to do
that.
you have to do the physical
I
therapy.
was gonna say that is not acknowledging muscular atrophy that happens.
Well,
Yeah.
like you can definitely, I mean, I think one of the reasons we consider Stephen King such like a classic Americana author of the 20th century is that he takes things like that,
Hmm.
does a fuck ton of research, and is like, oh, you know what I never see in Hollywood? Or like he's like, this is actually what it's kind of like
Uh-huh.
in a much more realistic, like slow, pedantic. He's like, no, this is gonna take some time.
Hmm.
It's not a you just get up and you're bit bopping around.
And also for somebody like Cronenberg who thinks bodily about all of his
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
this
Like the
absolutely,
body changes the mind.
yeah. And so I think that's really important to show him going from wheelchair to crutches to
Hmm.
cane to just kind of perpetually having a bit of a limp
Yeah.
to his walk, that he's always sort of wounded by this.
Yes. He carries the scars.
Hmm. When Dr. Weizak talks to him about the physical therapy and the kind of the long road ahead, but he will walk again, Johnny grabs his hand to say thank you, and then zzz, and he's like, the wolf is loose, no
Oh,
match for them.
damn.
And it's a full World War II battle scene
Isn't that
happening.
crazy? Like you would not expect it.
Uh-huh.
Hype like a realistic, like somewhere in Poland.
Yeah. I really was. I still, when I first saw this movie, I remember being dead set on the idea that Weizak was going to be evil doctor. And so
Yeah.
in my thought was like, oh shit, he's just now learning that Weizak was a
He's a
Nazi in
Nazi.
World
Yeah,
War
yeah,
II.
yeah.
But in actuality, what we see is basically
He's Magneto.
he's Magneto. It's a bunch of Polish Jews
Yeah.
scrambling away from the Nazis,
Yeah.
invading their town, and Mother puts her boy, Dr. Sam Weizak,
Yeah.
on a carriage to get him out of there, on you know, back of a wagon to get him
Yeah.
to safety.
But what's crazy is
Hmm.
he's like, your mother's alive. I know her name and her phone number.
Yeah. Where she lives and all of that.
And Dr. Weizak's like, no, no, that ship sailed.
Yeah.
My mother, I said, I'm living with a dead mom since the war. Let's not upturn this apple cart, shall we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
And
is
that,
honestly, I find this scene where he goes and calls and he gets confirmation and then later recounts. I really love this scene. It's very touching.
mhm.
That the doctor is so honest with Johnny about his reaction. Because I feel like sort of a male braggadocio would be to be like, how did you know? How did you know? And slam the table and not say anything. But he's like, no, I called. I couldn't do it. I couldn't talk to her. It's just, I'm going to leave well enough alone.
Mhm.
It's kind of fucked up.
And this
But
is where,
that's my fuck up.
yeah. And this is where I started thinking about this movie, seeing it again this time, this viewing. This is where I started thinking about how much this movie is saying about what we do with the gifts we do have.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard to take a stand for something and not just going to like thinking broadly politically, not just going to a protest, not just doing a phone bank, not just making a donation, not just, putting a, whatever icon on on your social
Sure.
media,
Yeah.
uh but actually confronting the people in your life
Yeah.
about maybe it's a big politic issue or maybe it's just
Hmm.
like when you treat me this way, I feel this way. Like it's just a
Yeah.
one-on-one, like making amends, making community and making family stronger. Sometimes if other people won't do it, it falls on you to
Mhm.
do it. And it's just interesting that Weizak is like, I've reached an age where I can't.
Yeah.
It's better. I don't know that I can handle this thing. And so he knows the power he has, which is his mother's name, phone number, and location.
Yep.
He actually can bring his mother back from the dead, and he can't bring himself to do it.
Yeah.
And that's so hard.
Because it seems it would like the what would it be 40 years where they've gone 30 years where they've gone dead to each other
Hmm.
would be almost insulting, you know?
Yeah. And maybe both are too proud to reach out to each other because,
Well, I mean, he would have to live with the like, why didn't I search harder?
yeah, yeah,
You
she
know,
was
why
right
why
there in
did
the
I just
phone book.
assume she was dead?
Yeah. So this, I will say this, one of the other issues that I have with this movie, and maybe it's in the book too, I don't know, but it's so small town in a way
Hmm.
that this town is so outsized, like
It's Castle Rock, Maine.
it is,
Yeah,
and and it's like on the outskirts of Castle Rock because when
I
we
know.
meet when we meet Bannerman, he's coming from Castle Rock to
Yes.
this tiny town, and the fact that Dr. Weizak says one that there's a clinic as fine as the one Weizak runs in a community,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that feels like. Are we in Westchester? What's happening? Like, we have to be in a more populated area, and maybe they
Hmm.
are. Maybe they are in something that's like outskirts of Boston, outskirts of New York City, outskirts, whatever. But the fact that his mom was just in the phone book, and I'm like, how did they
Right.
both wind up in the same tiny
Oh, yeah.
town
They both end
and
up
not
in
see
Maine.
each other? Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
why is a U.S. senator just campaigning for like 4 solid days in a town of about 18,000 people?
Well, Maine
Sure,
only has 6 people in it.
that's true. That is
So you got to
true.
hit all 6 of them
Yep.
a couple times.
Uh-huh. So Dr. Sam says, he tells Johnny, he says, well, you're either in possession of a new human ability or a very old one, which I
I
love.
love that. I love it.
And also, again, we just turn left at the classic trope of I don't believe you that
Yes.
you're
Science can
experiencing
never
this.
conceive. Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah comes to see Johnny at
Oh,
Weizsack's
no.
clinic.
With her new haircut and everything.
Oh God, she's got the 80s, not Bob, what is that? It's not quite pixie, it's
Yeah, it's
variation of
kind
the
of a
pixie.
boy cut, sort
Yeah,
of.
excuse me. I like this line. There's just like a cute moment where they, you know, John is trying to like make sense of his feelings about her.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
watching his face in the scene, watching Walken's face in the scene is great
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's trying to be happy for her and he kind of is, but he's also very
Yeah.
sad. And there's a moment where, he says, you look great and, you don't look a day older. And she's like, you've lost a lot of weight, as if
Yeah.
that's a compliment to someone. And he says, they call it a coma diet, lose weight while you sleep. And his smile on this line is so, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
perfect. She has a 10-month-old Cecil.
I know. I was like, oh no, is it going to be like if she says 5 years old? I was like, oh shit. But we know that but we have to know that they haven't slept together. I think that's why they don't do it in the opening scene is so that we know it's not his kid,
From the moment she says she has a kid,
you know?
we know it's not his. We can be
Yeah.
assured of that.
Because if there's even a whiff that it could have been his, then it turns into her character becomes despicable because she has his kid, but she's not willing to sit by his bedside, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. And also the fact that he's 10 months old,
Yes.
just,
I mean,
that
she
solidifies it.
lasted like a few years.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I like Sarah as a character because I think she is portrayed as very autonomous
Hmm.
and is not painted as sort of a Jezebel,
No.
even though she's like, hey, do you want to have sex? And he's like, no, I'm a good Christian boy. And she's like, okay,
Okay. Drive home
whatever.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And then later it's like, man, I really love this guy. And she waited for a long time,
Hmm.
but eventually she reached her limit. And that is her fucking prerogative.
Yeah. Well, she named this 10-month-old boy, she named him after her favorite restaurant.
Hmm.
She named him Denny.
Denny.
And I
And this is
it
his
cracked
sibling
me
moons
up.
over Miami.
Yes, it cracked me up later when there's another time lapse and she runs into Johnny again and he meets Denny and he's like, "Oh, your boy Danny." And she goes, "Denny." And I'm like,
I
I
know.
almost cannot hear the difference, you guys. Just
Danny,
everybody.
Danny, Diddy, Danny. Well, we already have another Stephen King character named Danny who's going to get into a lot of shenanigans out in
Uh-huh.
Colorado.
Yes. I like that he quotes Sleepy Hollow here and says, as he quotes, talking about Ichabod Crane, as he was a
Hmm.
bachelor and in nobody's debt, nobody troubled his head anymore. And he tells
Girl,
Sarah,
same,
that's
same.
kind of what I want. He
Yeah,
wants to be a little off the grid.
yeah.
And I think that's so relatable, especially when you're going through a sadness or a
Yeah.
difficult time or whatever. It's just, or a
Like, I'm
life
going to take
change.
my chess piece off the board and
Yeah.
not play the game
I
for a
want
while.
out of the rat race.
Yeah.
And she's the opposite because she, on her own choice, left her job as a teacher to be a full
Hmm.
time mom,
Yep.
but is also now active in political campaigning,
Yeah.
meaning like she kind of wants back in the rat race. She wants to be in the community. She wants to be doing something. And that's the
Although
way
you
she can
do get
find
it
it.
just a whiff that her husband is the Stilson supporter and she's there
Yeah.
and she's great, but you
Uh-huh.
do get the impression that her husband is like, I love this dude.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. But it's just the setup of what she wants versus what Johnny wants here is really
Yeah.
interesting. They're going in opposite directions. Johnny's story about saving this nurse's daughter through a
Mhm.
psychic dream or psychic vision, the press really wants to talk to him about it, and he tells Dr. Sam, "Listen, let me just talk to them and get it over with." And in my head, I'm like, "No, that's not how
No.
you get it over
He's
with."
like, yeah, I just want to end it by having a good conversation with me and the press, and that will answer everybody's question, and then no one will ever think about me ever again.
Nope. This is where if you want to get rid of it, you say, I just had a premonition. I don't think I have a power. It was a one-off deal. I'm really
You know what
glad
you
that
say?
girl is okay.
No comment.
No comment.
Please lose my
Yeah,
number.
or just
And
say
then
like,
just ride it out and wait for your moment to die away.
yeah,
And JD Salinger that shit. He's the one who went like and just kind of lived behind closed walls, right? He's
yes,
like, goodbye.
totally. Yeah, he totally did that as he was a bachelor and in nobody's debt.
Yeah.
Dot dot dot. Yeah.
He's like, please don't knock on my door. Asking me how the Catcher in the Rye ends. I'm done.
There's a reporter though that wants to escalate this interaction.
Okay, now this is where casting matters, you guys.
Hmm.
Is this reporter the same guy who is Stilson's heavy later in the film?
No,
Or do they just look very similar?
this is Tiny Sonny. Like Sonny is
Okay.
the bodyguard guy.
Okay.
This guy is just like tiny version.
Okay.
He's a
They
miniature.
had a similar, like, I don't, they looked really similar to me. And I was
Yeah.
like, and then there's a moment where, Johnny is like meeting Stilson and the bodyguard. And I was like, have they already met? Why are
Uh-huh.
they? Oh, it's just because he's the bodyguard and he's eyeing him up and down. Okay.
Right, right. I think that guy's name is Sonny. No, he's a different guy, but you're right. Casting does matter, and that I just want we needed a slightly different look.
Yes.
Maybe give me like more blonde hair, blue eyed news anchor type or something, just something that gives us
We're going to get that in
oh,
Frank Dodd.
that's true. Yeah. Okay, so this guy is like, oh, can we have a demonstration? Why don't you touch my hand? Is my house on fire, John? And John gets a little upset and grabs his
I love
fucking
this that
hand.
she's like, what you want to know, you're gonna die. You know what? You are. And I'm gonna die, and everybody in this fucking room is gonna die. What you want to know is, are you going to die tomorrow?
Right.
But it don't work like that
No. He
because you
grabs.
probably won't,
Uh-huh.
but you've got some dark clouds hanging over your head.
Yeah, you kind of actually, now that I'm grabbing your hand forcefully, I can see you want to know why your sister killed herself
Oop,
and what you had to do
oop,
with that,
oop,
Mr. Boy.
oop.
I could tell you now. And the reporter's like, let me the fuck go.
Yeah.
And Johnny's
Oh,
mom is home watching all this on TV. Leave him
aneurysm.
alone.
Aneurysm.
Leave Brittany alone. And she
Leave
had,
Brittany, leave Christopher Walken alone. Oh,
and
you know what's funny is that
uh,
like this woman, the actress, she plays such a good mom. She is 4 years older than Christopher Walken.
I'm sorry, what?
This actress
Uh-huh.
is 4 years older. Jackie Burroughs is 4 years older than Christopher Walken.
Um, yeah, that's false. There's no way. You're lying.
I think if she had, this is like, she's a character actor in that she has one of those
Yeah.
faces, and you
Yeah.
put a powdery wig on her,
Yeah.
she acts the fuck out of it, and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, she's somebody's grandma, or she's like an adult person's mother.
There's something about like looking at a photo of her now from when she was probably in her 40s or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She has very thin lips. She has like
Hmm.
kind of thin features. Everything
Yeah.
about her is skinny, like so, and but also a little bit linear.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of lends itself a little bit to older face with the right makeup
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
performance. Yeah,
You
totally.
put a powdered wig and a hat with a flower on her, and she's
Hmm.
like, oh, you're definitely the worst church lady in the
Yes.
group.
Sadly, so Johnny goes to visit mom in the hospital. She's out of it. She's like, leave your boots outside. She calls
And
him
he's
by
like,
his father's name to start.
yeah,
And then he holds his mom's hand. There is no vision
that's
when
right.
he holds her hand. It's not black, it's just nothing happens. And then she dies.
It's sort of implied that like, is this a coincidence? Is it like just a coincidence that he holds his mother's hand and she dies, or is it like him being this conduit to the dead world, kind
I
of
took
eased
it
her along her passage?
I took it that it's the same thing when we get the reveal of why the movie is called The Dead Zone.
Okay.
Like that what that
Yeah.
refers to is that this is the first moment of the dead zone happening. But he doesn't know his powers yet.
Sure.
But Cronenberg is making it he's setting up the language of the film, which is close up of two hands touching
Yes.
each other is the sign that we're about to go into psychic premonition world.
Yeah. Hmm.
And at this moment, he gives us a close up of them touching hands. There's a beat. Nothing happens.
Nothing.
And she
Because-
dies. And so later, when he explains, I had a dead zone when I touched the young
Yeah.
man Chris's hands. And he had already changed the boy's future. And at that point, there was a
Oh, the
dead
dead
zone.
zone means it's mutable.
Yeah. So that was this, which is there was no other vision to see.
Inevitable.
Because
Yeah.
she was going to die moments later. Let us meet Sheriff Bannerman.
Oh, I love it. I love Tom Skerritt being a
Uh-huh.
sheriff.
Uh-huh.
Because Picket Fences was one of my favorite shows growing up. That I was like, maybe a little too young for David Lynch, and Picket Fences was like weird, but not as weird as Twin Peaks was.
Yes. Yeah, I never saw Picket Fences, but I liked him in Top Gun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like a Tom Skerritt. He's a Chris Christopherson type.
Yeah, he's a Hal Holbrook.
Yeah, Hal Holbrook. There's a like a gentle Sam Elliott to him.
Yes,
as
gentle
well.
toughness.
Yeah.
Like you're a cowboy, you're a sheriff.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, he and Deputy Dodd go to drive from Castle Rock out to whatever little Maine town this is. Because he comes to visit Johnny at his dad's house or his parents' house, mom gone now, and Sheriff Bannerman wants help with the Castle Rock killer case. I love that Bannerman is in this movie because it is even long before we were talking about MCU or extended universe,
Hmm.
cinematic universes.
Stephen King was doing it,
He
man.
was doing it very early on, and Bannerman makes a lot of appearances in early Stephen King
Yeah.
novels. But he wants help with the Castle Rock killer case. There's been like 9 murders this year. They're all like sexual assault murder cases, a lot of them with young women.
And they've been going on for a while,
Mhm.
most of the time that Johnny was in his coma. Because Johnny is like just barely rehabilitated. Like
Yes.
he's barely out of the institution,
Hmm.
the Wyzak institution.
Yeah.
So he's, I think, still not used to life, not used to the 5 years later
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. And he's not used to his own life and abilities, and he's
Right.
trying to, again,
He's also trying to be there for his dad, who is just literally just puttering around the house.
yeah. Yeah, he's trying to do all of these things. He really is just like, I need a grip on my life. And Bannerman said, not much of a religious man, but I feel like if God has blessed you with this gift, you should use it. And he was like, bless me.
He goes off. He goes off on Bannerman.
God threw an 18-wheeler full of milk at me,
Sounds kind of,
took my girlfriend away,
yeah,
killed my mom. God's been a real fucking sport.
yeah.
He's just like, well, if you change your mind, you
He's
know
like,
where I
yeah,
am.
here's my card, I guess. I had to try.
um, I his dad is so sweet in
I
this
know.
movie.
I love the
Mr.
fact that
Smith.
I love that the costumer put the two of them in the same colored cardigan.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's just really sweet.
Herb is a sweetheart, and just, he after Bannerman leaves, he says, and this is to me so unrealistic for fathers of any generation, but especially in this era of
You want to
filmmaking.
talk about it?
Do you want to talk about it? I'm like, oh, Dream Daddy. Good
What?
Lord.
Well, here's the thing. With a mother like Vera,
Uh-huh.
you get the impression, in every relationship, there's a sun and a moon, and the sun is shining and is
Mm-hmm.
bright and in everyone's face, and the moon is quietly in the background, subconsciously doing shit. And you get the impression that he's the moon. Like
Yeah.
Vera's out there doing the thing, and he's lived a life where he really loves her, but he's also the quiet one in the background who maybe comes along and is like, hey, I know
Yeah.
my wife's a lot. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. No, that's a good, yeah, truly, yeah, absolutely true because it would have always been filtered through Vera's religion and
You
difficult
know?
for her to access whatever power Johnny has because she didn't live long enough to really see all of
Right.
these powers at work, and it's questionable whether or not she would have believed they were something
Accepted.
other than
I
a
know.
possession or something. But he says, when the spells come on, it feels like I'm dying on the inside, which kind of gets a little confirmed by Wesak later saying,
Yeah.
I've read a lot about
It's
this.
kind of sucking the life out of
It
you.
takes the toll on the body when you use this power. Okay, I, this scene was really interesting to me. Sarah comes to visit with little Denny,
Yeah. What's happening here?
and she comes to basically Herb's house, like Dad's
Yeah.
house where Johnny is living. Herb is like out for the afternoon doing God
Uh-huh.
knows what else.
Well, he's building bookshelves
Oh,
for
that's right.
the widow Johnson down the yard, down
That's
the
right.
street.
So he's out in the woodshed building
Hmm.
bookshelves, and Sarah gets Denny down for a little nap
Hmm.
and says, like, hey, remember how you said some things were worth waiting for? Haven't we waited long enough? Unbutton,
I
unbutton, unbutton.
know.
You're like, whoa, shit. Did you get a
And
hall pass? I
I
want to know.
know.
I want to know
What?
if you got a hall pass from your husband because,
Is your husband like out on, and it's really nebulous. It's also really I think it's supposed to be really kind of pull at our heartstrings that it's like he gets it for a day. He
Yes.
gets the wife he wanted out of her for a day. He gets to be a father to this little boy, and he's so like, grandpa's pulling the crib, or not the crib, the high chair out of the basement. That high chair is fucking awesome, by the way.
A
That
really
is
good high
craftsmanship.
chair. Yeah.
That's a really, like, you should keep that. Um, he gets it for a day. They
It's a
don't
little bit
talk
make a
about what,
wish, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
like, and I think they both don't want to break the spell by having the hard conversation, which is,
Hmm.
why are you here? Where's your husband? Is this going to be a regular thing?
Yeah.
Why are we not doing this in a motel if it's just sexual?
Yeah.
Why did you bring your kid? Like, why,
Why did you stay and cook dinner for me and your
right?
baby and my father, who then is Herb later is like, it feels so nice to have a family dinner again.
And this is where like that shot, like, and it cuts to Christopher Walken smiling. And again, it's like his smile is so like you can see the sadness behind his smile
Yeah.
because I think he knows. He's like you said, this is a make-a-wish. This is not, this is a fantasy Brigadoon family that's only going to live for one day.
Yeah. It's a little strange. This is where it feels a little bit. This is when we talk about like the male gaze in cinema or whatever, because
Sure.
it's not, there is no like, the male gaze doesn't happen in a linger on her body way. Like we
Mhm.
don't see nudity. There's not even a scene of them having sex or,
But it
or
is kind
really,
of male wish
it's
fulfillment.
male. That's it. It's male wish fulfillment is that like, I wish I could just sleep with this person one time. We could play house for a day and then I'll have no emotional repercussions from that at all.
No, no.
Because he kind of, at the end of the night, he realizes, yeah, this is just a one time thing. And he's like, well, it's hard, but wish you well. Thank you so much for a lovely day. I'm like, boy,
Bye.
you're not dealing with a lot, my dude.
Yeah, yeah.
But that night, he stays up late and watches the news and sees Bannerman on the TV talking about another rape and murder of a 15-year-old. And Bannerman's like looking down the barrel of the camera, being like, well, it's hard. We don't know, but I'm sure there are people out there who could be able to know something
Hmm.
and would
Who
help
maybe are
us.
watching
May
right now. I think it's interesting, like these two scenes coming right off the other. And as questionable as it is, like what this day of wife, day of family, day of
uh-huh.
fatherhood is. But I think it's the like being around that love is what inspires him subconsciously to rejoin the world,
It gives him
to be
that
like,
purpose.
oh shit, I am a part of a community. I can be a part of the world again.
100%. It's just that you have to be reminded how beautiful the world can be,
Right.
how beautiful life and touch can be.
We should just do like rent a toddler where you just get like a 2-year old for a day and you're like, do you feel fulfilled?
There's no way that could go pear-shaped, that
No.
project.
I see no flaws in this
All right,
plan.
hold on. I'm creating a Kickstarter account right now.
Rent a toddler. Two for a day.
Yes, first we're going to have to set up a birthing farm, so
Uh-huh.
that's going to be complicated.
I think you just like we have a lot of parents that need a break, and
Uh-huh.
we have a lot of single people that are like, I have a fuck ton of money and I feel empty. Just take this 2-year old for a day,
Hmm.
have fun, return it at 6 p.m.
I'm imagining every parent of a two who's had a parent who's been a parent of a 2-year-old being like, "You absolutely do not feel refreshed in life. You want
No,
to sleep for
no,
2 weeks straight
uh-uh.
after a day with a 2-year-old." So he does show up for this murder investigation, and Johnny asks, for something like the killer might
Mhm.
have held or worn. He's got like a
Oh,
pack
this
of
shot,
cigarettes. Oh, the
fucking
tunnel.
love this
Uh-huh.
shot. Like I was like, I even paused it to be like, how is David Cronenberg lighting this?
Yeah.
Because it's this like wet stone archway tunnel, and they've put some sort of light source at the very that's not visible that like creates the tunnel of light, like what you're supposed to kind of see when you die.
Oh yeah.
Was the implication, like was kind of like the thing, when you say, oh, I saw a long tunnel of light, is what this reminds me of.
Yeah,
breathtaking. Love it.
I love that you brought that up because it didn't even cross my mind. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
But you're right.
and it
Yeah,
just does look really fucking cool.
it does look really fucking cool. And it is very like, yeah, tunnel of light. It is this hallway into the other world. But he's got nothing here. Like they all they have is like some evidence of empty pack
I
of
love that they're like,
cigarettes.
hey, touch this pack of Marlboro Reds. You getting anything? Anything? No? How about this pack of Camels? Anything? Which ones taste better?
hmm
Number one or number two?
And so they get a call though that there is another death already.
Like at that moment.
Yes. And so we go to this house. The press is already there. This woman is a house. It's a gazebo out in a public park area. And there is a woman lying dead and kind of frozen looking under this blanket.
Yikes.
So
And they're like, Sheriff Banham's like, do your thing, Johnny.
I'm going to say that
Hey, Frank, keep everybody back. I'm going to not look at you for the next 10 minutes.
I'm going to give you an opinion about this movie here, which is, and see how you think of it, which is,
Mhm.
I don't think the subplot of Deputy Dodd
Mhm.
was necessary.
Oh. Hmm.
Only because it's not a mystery that holds up very well to me,
Uh-huh.
in the sense that there's no adventure to the mystery. It's solved
It
very
is like,
quickly.
yeah,
It's his
yeah.
death
I
is
see what you're
so
saying.
his death is the one horror movie
Yeah,
element
for
of
sure.
this movie when he kills himself with scissors to the back of the throat
Yeah.
in a bathtub while wearing a leather jacket. Like it's up there with fucking
Seven.
Logan Roy in The Ring.
Oh,
Like just an
Or like the
elaborate,
movie set. Yeah.
yeah, or like the movie Seven.
I think I hear what you're saying. It's very quick. They
hmm
it's like, hey, are you getting anything off this clue? Oh, there's another one. Come on, let's go, Johnny.
Yeah,
Oh, where's Deputy Dodd? He took your car and ran away. No, that didn't seem unusual to anybody that he just left the scene of the crime. No, okay. But I think it's because in order to get to the like, we're doing like our little like you mentioned Pilgrim's Progress. It's that like we have to start with small metaphysical and moral conundrums, and then we
uh-huh.
go to medium-sized metaphysical and moral conundrums, and then we get to the big burger of them.
Yeah,
And he has to kind of like realize his curse is a gift, a complicated gift, a superpower
yeah,
that's going to get him in trouble with a lot of people when he encounters actual bad people.
yeah. I think to me it was just a matter
It
of
just is
I agree.
happens real quick.
I wanted to when we go from he experiences this human love and then he reaches out and
Yeah.
sees like the effect he can have on a positive world, that he can use his talents for good in the community. I just thought the Dodd thing was so ridiculous, and in my mind, if I'm Deputy Dodd, and maybe this is a sign that we're not all competently trained police
Mhm.
officers, but I feel like if you're a police officer, you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer, but you do have to know a little bit about the law because there are laws governing your job and what you can or can't do.
I think I
And
know
the
where you're going
fact
with
that
this.
the fact that a psychic showed up and been like,
Uh-huh.
"It's you, you did it." If you're Dodd,
Prove
you'd be
it.
like, "Prove it." What? What are you talking about?
I
I'm
never
like,
I
that's
was
not
never
going to
near
hold up in court.
I was never near her. I don't know. I was at home with my mom all day. My mom will verify.
Yeah,
Prove it, psychic dude.
yeah. I mean, I guess eventually, if they know which fingerprints they're looking for or
Sure.
patterns, and then his
And
life,
I mean, it's also
yeah, whatever.
yeah. And it is also like I think once we get into I do like the sort of shorthand serial killer psychology that we
Uh huh.
get here. But it is, you're right. It's like it's almost like a little short story has been like plunked down in the middle of this novel,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
think in the novel, this feels like something that could. This feels very Stephen King to have
Sure.
these kind of tangents, but I think in Stephen King novels, you have so much room to tell these stories that
Sure. Yeah.
they don't feel as distracting. Whereas in an hour and 40-minute movie, I'm like,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
And I did because I've never read The Dead Zone and I've never read Cujo. But one, The Dead Zone was Stephen King's first number one book. That
Oh,
was his
interesting.
first big success. And I think it's because of the fact that it's like it is more about the psychology than it is about the superpower, you
Yeah.
know? And also, this it's sort of implied in the books that the Castle Rock killer, after Frank Dodd dies, he becomes this sort of local boogeyman to the kids, and it's implied that his spirit is what prompts Cujo to kill.
Oh, interesting.
So it's that thing of like, it's not a one A leads to B leads to C. It's more of a like A leads to triangle leads to rabid dog,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And it's
Curious.
like, but I love that because Stephen King books, are kind of written in that way that a lot is told through small town rumor.
Uh-huh.
What are they talking about the malt shop, Johnny? Well, I heard that this, that, and the other, that Frank, the spirit of the killer, still roams free.
Pepperidge Farms remembers.
Pepperidge Farm remembers when you inhabited the soul of a rabid dog and tried to kill a woman and a child in a Datsun.
That was their weirdest commercial ever for cookies.
It was. But honestly, kudos to that marketing manager for pitching that.
So they go to okay, then they go to Dodd's house, but
So
they
yes, he's like he sees it. She knows him. I love the like oil slick high collar, and it's like he delays the face for like a good 2 minutes,
uh-huh.
which in a film is like you're like turn around. This is what it is.
I just wrote sheriff call for backup.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
you you
There's
have
more
enough
than
of a sense that this guy might be a serial killer
there's
that you're
more
going
than
to
two
go to his
police
house
in
at
this
night.
town. Slash also, why is Johnny coming with you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, you're bringing a civilian with you
Yeah,
to
no
a
need for this.
potential arrest of a murderer.
You know that other cop that was like, "Hey, Frank took your car and drove it." Like that's who you should. I mean, maybe not that guy, but
Yes.
that guy seems like your average caricature of small town cop.
Well, they save it with the solo by putting I'm sorry, Colleen Dewhurst
Oh my
as
God, I love it.
Mrs. Dodd as mother. And Johnny grabs her by the arm when they get in the house. And he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you knew.
yeah.
You knew, didn't you?" And she's like, "You're the devil sent from
You're the
hell."
devil. Oh, I love it. Like that's so Stephen King. The like, meet something you don't like, call him the devil.
Yep.
Meet someone different that thinks differently than you, you're possessed by the devil. Religion is the cure for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the way this whole sequence is lit, I think for like, okay, maybe plot wise, it's a little jankety,
Uh-huh.
but the way this sequence is lit is so deliciously disgusting.
It's so
Like
gross.
it's green.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in this movie has been very like natural light. Like we were talking about the phasing of his visions as very not abstract, surrealistic in that it's like, oh, you're in it, like things bleeding into each other, but still very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not wibbly wobbly. It's not a lot of lighting, and this is the most like weirdly lit. Like everything is like sickly green in this house.
Yeah.
It's also very like kind of coded that Dodd lives in like his mother put him in a world in which he's not older than 10 years old.
Mm.
He's like the rocking horse, like the cowboy wallpaper. Like this family has not progressed from 1955.
Yeah. It is a very classic kind of profile of serial killer, like a
Yeah.
person who never really grew up into
And so
maturity.
created another life for himself in order to escape his reality.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be upstairs in the bathtub wearing a black leather coat, and then basically he mounts a pair of scissors on like a little thing
Uh-huh.
across the bathtub,
On like a
and then
sewing kit.
on the sewing kit, and then does a just a full on like sit up.
Japanese school child suicide club kind of deal.
Yeah. The thing is, you don't actually watch him do this. You
No,
watch him start to rehearse it, and then the next time we see it, he's just lying in the bathtub with like scissors jammed up in his
in
mouth.
his mouth.
Yeah. But from the top of the stairs, Mama Dewhurst
Yeah,
is like, "You're the devils," and she shoots Johnny, and then Bannerman shoots her dead.
yeah. I love the kind of final shot of this where it's like Henrietta's sort of like dead body and she's reaching her arm and she's like pointing like right at Johnny, who's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, "Gah, gah, I've been shot."
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he's got to learn. Like, do you have a moral conundrum? These are this is you got a Cassandra complex. This is the kind of shit that might happen if you start telling tales on people.
It's hard to it's hard to act, it's hard to do acts of good in the world.
Hmm.
Is the shame of doing good
Yeah.
things in the world.
People sometimes don't like being called out on their shit.
No, they really don't. But this was all a lot for Johnny, and he moves to a different town.
This took me a minute. I was like, I understand,
Uh-huh.
but also I'm like, one, this house is gorgeous. Where is this house? Two, how do you afford this house on your one I
Uh-huh.
tutor to tutelage?
Uh-huh. Because it's like it's the early 80s and just
I
houses are
guess.
like $250.
And he does have a like for apartment for rent sign, so maybe he's like hoping somebody moves in with him, but he also doesn't seem like somebody who would have a fucking roommate,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I also was just like, what town? Because we're
Yeah.
gonna see Sarah again very soon coming to campaign at his house.
I
So
mean
I'm like,
it's somewhere else in Maine. It's just like these New England is kind of scattered with like small little pockets of, Puritan created towns that are all kind of interchangeable in a lot of ways.
yeah, it just feels a little bit like me being like, "Hey, Cecil, I'm finally moving out of Brooklyn." You're like, "Oh shit, where are you going to?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Queens." Oh,
Oh,
a totally different town.
wow.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Oh, how are you going to make new
Do you know the
friends?
language?
Yeah. Do you know anyone in
Do
Queens?
you know the customs?
Yeah.
Because it's a
And
little different there.
I just think I was just a little confused by
Yeah.
like, what is the geography, like the population center?
Yeah.
Where in Maine are we?
Yeah.
Okay, so his headaches are getting worse. Weezak brings him
Yeah.
pills, and again, Weezak is very much of the mindset like, let's just carry on with life. Let's just be comfortable in life.
Yeah.
Let's be cool. And so pills are going to help you maybe suppress some of the
Yeah.
psychic stuff
But
that's hurting you.
he really wants him to move back to the Institute
Uh-huh.
because he needs, quote, a controlled environment.
Yeah. And Johnny's a little bit like, this is a controlled environment.
Like, I don't talk to nobody.
Yeah, I just tutor kids. I'm not in the same town. I'm not around Sarah. I'm not
My
around.
father knows where I am, and
Yeah.
he's it. And he sends me bucketfuls of mail from people asking me to find their lost dog.
I I think it's okay to tell dad, please don't send me
I
fan
know.
mail.
I know.
Um, but he's got like a closet full of letters of people being like, my child is lost. Can you find him? My dog is lost. Can you find him? I've lost a thing. I need to know what's going to happen to so and so. And he's like, I can't go out and live my life, which is why I stay in this house. Nothing can
Hmm.
touch me here. I am alone. I am safe. I'm off the grid, sort of thing.
I am a rock. I am an island.
But he's tutoring kids, and so this is a
That's
nice little
cool.
job. He's kind of gotten away from the psychic celebrity into just he's a very good tutor
Yes. Yes.
until Roger Stewart,
Oh,
wealthy
man.
wealthy man Roger Stewart comes by.
Like, what a perfectly despicable American.
Yes.
Like if you think about like all the problems
Uh-huh.
that the 20th century created. And then you're like, who would have done such a thing? This guy.
Yep. He's uh he's just like classic self-important businessman. Like
Yeah, rich asshole.
he's not yeah, rich
He's
asshole.
not evil,
He's not evil at all. No. But
but
he
he's
kind of
used to
believes
having
his own shit. Like
yeah, he's used to having things his way.
yeah. And there's a belief too, like this that if you're wealthy, especially wealthy from business,
Mm.
but I think wealthy from art or wealthy from athletics or whatever you're wealthy from, that you got there based off of meritocracy.
Oh,
You
of
got there
course.
because you're smarter and you work harder.
Yeah,
And so you become convinced in your own narrative that you
yeah.
are
Better
a
than?
great person and you
Yeah.
know better. And when in fact, hard work and talent go a long way to being financially successful, or they're at least a requisite in many cases,
Mhm.
but they don't guarantee shit. And there's a lot of smart and talented people out there that don't become wealthy or whatever. And
I was to
it's
say,
just
so does situation and luck.
absolutely, and probably more than anything, and this movie doesn't delve into it, but probably just who your parents were
Uh-huh.
and having some money passed down to you
Yeah.
helps a shit ton. But Roger Stewart is not, he's more the catalyst for what's to come.
Right.
He brings by his son Chris, who is so bright, but he just won't take part in school or learn. He just stays in his room. He's so shy. You have to come out to my house. He's just in a
He's not
shell.
fulfilling his potential. He's
Yes.
not being the son I want him to be. Now, I was so worried because like, and I think the movie does a really good job of kind of like teasing out the assholeness in that it's not all up front. Like this is not a caricature, but
Uh-huh.
it is the fact that he's like, no, 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 you like, and Johnny's like, no, I don't leave my house. That's not how this works. If you want me as his tutor, he has to come here.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, you can just see that they're like, no, 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 no. But he does reach a kind of like, hey, come out once. If the two of you get along, he can come here.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a deal man. Oh, it's the art of the deal, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Who wrote that? Plato? I
I
forget.
can't remember
Yeah. Kierkegaard, something like that. I
something.
don't know. So, yeah, he goes out to Roger Stewart's house to go meet Chris. But first, before he really meets Chris, he's going to run in the next morning. He's going to run into Greg Stilson, played by Martin Sheen.
This is not my President Bartlett.
What if it is? What if?
This is the dark side of President Bartlett.
Yeah, what was
Oh,
his name?
God bless Martin
Judd,
Sheen.
Bubba. What was his name? Jed,
Jebediah.
Jed,
Jeb,
Jedediah.
no. I think it is like a Jebediah or something like
It's
that.
Yeah, I think it's Jed Bartlett.
Judith.
I never watched Judith. So President Judith Bartlett. I was telling myself, I'm like, I
Hmm.
think he ran for Senate in Maine
Hmm.
over the next like 15 years, got
Yeah.
his shit together, really apologized, changed,
Yeah.
or not even apologized, changed his name.
Changed his name,
And we all
changed
forgot
his
about it.
tactic. He's like, you know what? Okay, instead of everyman asshole, I'm going to be New England intellectual. Got elected.
Uh-huh. And was the best president this country's ever seen, Judith
Absolutely.
Bartlett.
And Judith Bartlett learned how to walk and talk those hallways real fast.
Yeah, if you just talk fast enough, no one will question why you held up that baby.
Absolutely not. Nope.
But in this movie, we've got Greg Stilson, who is absolutely a demagogue, like
Yeah.
absolute iconoclast, like just a
Like
filled with
he
his
is,
own bullshit, like truly.
yeah. Like his introduction is telling a story to Stewart about campaigning in, I think, Boston, maybe, or
Uh-huh.
like a major city of some kind.
Yeah.
And like telling the black community, hey, the other guy's giving you $1 to vote for him. I say go back and take $2 and then you vote for me and we all win. So like there's already like a loose morality
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Very loose morality
Uh-huh.
that is not we're not going to realize just how loose, but it is like okay, we all know politics is compromise, right? It's not you probably don't want to know how the sausage is made. You
Yeah.
hope for the best, but you know that there's probably some deals back there that you're like, "Oh no, do you really have to do that?" But then you realize that there are people that like just love being compromised.
Hmm.
They love it. They get a kick out of it.
We all people who need heroes. Sad is the land that needs a hero.
That's right.
And when he leaves, you know, Johnny watches Roger Stewart be like real pleasant and chummy with
hmm
Stillson, and Stillson leaves, and Roger's like, that guy's a piece of shit. Just what a disaster he would be.
I love the fact that like Stillson shakes Johnny's hand,
Yes.
but doesn't make contact because he palms a button, like a campaign button to him. So it's
Yes.
that like even his handshake is fake.
Uh-huh.
Like the person who can see everything about you, clear as crystal, can't get a read on this guy because he's always campaigning.
Yeah. Roger says, like, we got to vote against this guy. He's dangerous, a real man of the people. What this whole real man of the people is such an act. And Johnny's like,
hmm
you didn't confront him
hmm
about that, though.
Yeah.
And again, it gets back to the theme of what do you do with your power of good?
Yeah.
Like, what do you believe is good and will you
Yeah.
fight for it? And Roger reveals, even though we're on Roger's side here, wealthy guy Roger, we're on his side, like,
hmm
yeah, he is dangerous. This is an act. We know that. But Roger says, if you if you are against him too
Yeah.
much, that can really ruin your he'll make your life miserable if he wins.
if he wins, but if you support him, he'll drag you down with him if he loses.
So you got to find that perfect balance to make him
Play
think
both
you
sides.
got to play both sides, which is another variation of how we don't confront things, how we don't choose what is good. You know,
Stand up for our beliefs.
you have to choose what is good. You really
Yeah.
do. Morality just is your own moral compass. You are the true north of your moral compass, and
Yeah.
you have to figure out where that is. And we're watching all of these characters be presented a case of right and wrong, and some people hide from it, some people curb it, and it is only Johnny in the end who's going to be like, I'm going to take a stand. It's a
I
wild
know.
stand, but it is a
It's a
stand.
bold one.
Okay, so he does connect with Chris, though. Young
I
Chris.
was expecting the worst out of Chris.
Yes.
Like it's set up like this is going to be a demon child.
Hmm.
But then you realize maybe he's been given all the finest things at this kid's room. Like fuck the silver spoons kid.
Yeah.
This kid's room is like what every child dreams of. There's like train sets. Dude, he has a computer in his room.
In 1983, where he's learning fucking coding or whatever.
What?
And, well, also, rich kid room with all the stuff you want,
Yeah.
schoolboy outfit, chili
Yeah.
bowl haircut.
Yep.
That screams disaster child.
You think he's going to be the worst, but in fact, the first thing out of his mouth, like, what does Johnny say? He's like, "Your dad says you're inflexible and won't leave your shell," and he's like, "My dad's the one who fucking won't leave his shell."
Chris is fucking
And
woke.
and Johnny smiles. He's like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. I think I understand what's going on here."
Yeah.
Dad wants a little extension of himself and is not prepared to be father to an actual human being
Yeah.
that maybe just doesn't want to do what daddy says. And this kid is like, I don't know, I guess I'll just sit here and draw.
Yeah. We're gonna get a scene of basically like mafia mentality of Stillson and his bodyguard
Yep.
hitman Sonny, who break into the offices of the local paper because they got word that the editor at this paper wrote an op-ed against
Uh-oh.
Stillson that's going to run the next morning. Again, another person presented a situation of right and wrong, but now we have the layer of all of your choices of right and wrong kind of stacked together. And
Mhm.
so they threaten him not only with take your head off if you run this, but also we have compromising photos with a young woman that I think is not Mrs. Brenner.
Blackmail.
Blackmail.
So what do you do?
Yeah. Again, it's a movie about right and wrong, and we're not all going to be presented with a vision that somebody is going to blow up the
Right.
earth with nuclear
Yeah.
warheads.
And is it worth it? That's the thing is like,
Totally.
is it worth it to take a stand?
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
so hard. I mean, it's very easy to be like, you need to check your parents sometimes when they are bad to you, but
Mhm.
that there's a privilege to being able to
Right.
push back on your
Right.
parents that
You're like,
not
yeah,
everyone
go out and
has.
punch some Nazis.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yes.
and then
And then what?
don't worry, they're not people.
Yeah. Well, and also they're not going to
There's no
retaliate.
repercussions.
Yeah, yeah. And so like there's repercussions to every decision, and
Yeah.
I find this movie on this watch I was really thinking about when and how and why do you stand up for something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Chris is now part of his
It's the
tutoring.
day of the show, y'all.
He's quoting the Raven again. But this is when the canvasser comes to the door for Greg Stilson. And it's this man who's like, hey, Stilson is mounting the most successful third party campaign the U.S. has ever seen. Hey, honey, come on over here and give this guy some literature. He's busy with a student. And it's Sarah.
I love again, I think the casting here is like spot on in that this dude is like very all-American golden retriever,
Uh huh.
like conventionally forgettably attractive versus sort of Christopher Walken's like unique, charismatic attractive,
Yeah.
you know?
Agreed. And also like a person that you honestly, if your ex married this person, you'd be like, I get it.
Yeah,
It's
I get
fine.
it.
Yeah.
He's on the fast track to middle management. I
Yeah.
understand.
He seems fine. I bet he's a good dad. There's nothing objectionable about him. I'm not wowed. I'm not interested, but
Yeah.
also not, it's hard to be like, get away from him. He's a creep.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, this sends Johnny into, he starts crying when he closes the
Oh
door. He
my
can't control,
God.
and Chris comes down and like comforts him.
Yeah.
And Johnny puts his arm around Chris and then so touches his hand
Uh-oh.
and then gets a vision of Chris and his whole hockey team falling through thin ice.
This is I love this vision. It's so horrifying in that it's just children in red hockey jerseys plunging through like but you're below the water.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like so simple and you know exactly what's happening. And apparently this took like 3 days to film. And like most of the visions, Christopher Walken was supposed to be in it. Like he's supposed
Uh-huh.
to be in the vision. But then I think they came up with the idea that like if he's not in the vision, it has this mutable quality to it. So apparently they filmed all this shit and he was like, not even, they didn't even need to. Like he spent 3 days in the water and they didn't need it, which I
Yeah.
think is the correct decision.
Yeah.
It-
I agree. And he goes to Roger and, finds out that Roger is planning that day.
Packing up
They're,
all the hockey equipment in the back of the
it's
van.
like, so Chris loves hockey. I started a hockey league. I started a hockey team for him. Johnny's like, you got to call it off. There's going to be an accident. You know who I am, right? He's like, yeah, I looked up who you were and I don't
Mhm.
give a shit. And he said, you want to kill your own son? I hired you for your abilities as a teacher, not a fortune teller, which is
Yeah,
such a rich guy thing to say.
of course.
I want you out of here. Don't want you in my boy's life anymore. Again, a decision. You've been given information on what is good, what
Yeah.
is bad, what is moral, right, and wrong.
And Johnny's like, he's like, Chris, excuse me, Chris is like, wait, what? I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you listen to him, Dad?
And
Shouldn't you let another man tell you what to do for once in your life, Dad?
yeah. And Chris is a lot more intuitive here. And Chris
Yeah,
is like, I'm actually feeling scared in this moment,
yeah.
and I don't want to go to play the hockey. And he stays home. And the next morning, we see the newspaper headline, 2 dead in ice hockey
Yeah.
accident.
Johnny calls over to the house and it's just like it's just Roger sitting there in his Ralph Lauren
Drinking whiskey
bathrobe,
at 10:15 a.m.
drinking whiskey at 10 a.m., like unable to process the reality of the situation.
Oh, he's going to get sued out of that house. Right?
Yes. I mean, well, here's the thing. I mean, maybe. I mean, it's assuming that he took that group, the group of kids, not including his son.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe. I don't
And
know.
you chose that ice and you said this is where we're going to play hockey. Oh,
Yeah.
I think you'd have a very strong I
Yeah.
think you'd have a
I mean, he
very
says we
strong
always
tort
skate
here.
on that ice before March.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that he would face criminal charges, maybe negligence, criminal negligence or something, but I think you would have a very successful lawsuit against a wealthy man.
Yeah.
Um,
The death
and
of your child.
yeah. So Roger's not confronting any fucking thing here.
No.
All right. So now on to Stilson. Now we're going to finally get into the Stilson arc.
There's a band playing. The stage is I also love like I love the fact, like when you have a and starring, or like an and credit
Uh-huh.
and, Martin Sheen, the way you like telegraph a character coming even before they enter the screen. So this like giant poster the stage is being erected in front of Johnny Smith's, you know, Adam's family house
Uh-huh.
for days before we even see this character. But like you feel his presence looming even before you meet him. I fucking love it.
Yes.
Like that's how you build a character.
Absolutely.
And then you cast an actor who can actually take you there and kind of like do a Martin Sheen.
Uh-huh.
Find a Martin Sheen is what I'm saying. Someone who's like, oh my God, you're so handsome and so evil when you need to be.
Yes. So in this process of him shaking hands all the way up to the
Mhm.
podium to do the
Shaking
thing,
hands, kissing babies.
Johnny is there and happens to grab his hand. And then in this moment,
Because he's following Sarah, right?
yes, he's looking for Sarah. That's why he's at this thing. But
Yeah.
they both
He
kind
just
of,
finds himself in line.
and then ends up with the handshake and then grabs stronghold of Stilson. And what he sees is a vision of Stilson deciding to unilaterally launch global thermonuclear warfare.
It's my destiny. God came down and said, you're going to be the one.
Mm-hmm.
It's my destiny. And he's like, again, we see him convincing somebody else, the, secretary of whatever, the other failsafe. And he's like, either you put your hand there or I'm going to chop your hand off and put it there. And like, so again, it's an extension of strong arm, guerrilla police,
Yeah.
gangster tactics in politics.
Yeah.
I can't relate to that at all, Jeffrey. I don't know any reality in which that is ever going to work or the president will ever do that.
For real. So yeah, and then not only do they launch the nuclear warheads, he then
Oh my God.
steps out of the little Camp David cabin and he's like, "All right, I'll see the Secretary of Defense and Vice President now." And they're like, Mr. President, we found a
We've
diplomatic
come up with a
solution. He's like,
diplomatic solution.
"Nope, too late. Already launched."
Bye.
Bye.
Missiles are flying.
So John, in seeing Dr. Weizak again, is like, "If you saw baby Hitler, would you kill baby Hitler?"
Okay, here's my thing about this
Okay.
whole thing. And I know this is played out and we shouldn't spend too much, but like, if you kill Hitler, there's a lot of other people that can step into those shoes. You know,
Yeah.
like a person is not a time or a zeitgeist.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that went into, like, and sure, it takes one person who has like a crazy vision, but also there's a lot of people involved in this machine that easily could have picked up the slack and made it worse.
There's a podcast called History is Sexy. It's co-hosted by our friend Janina Mathewson
Oh, fun.
and also Dr. Emma Southern, who is a really brilliant historian. She's really, really interesting. And they did I believe it ended up being a 4-part series on the history of Yugoslavia.
Okay.
And in it, it's so fascinating because they talk a little bit about Trump, but they also talk about when, in the late 70s, when after Tito died, who was this like beloved, like benevolent dictator basically of Yugoslavia that kind of held
Yeah.
everything together. What you had a global recession and a global oil shortage and financial
Okay.
crisis,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
manufacturing jobs were
Yeah, the
disappearing.
70s were rough.
They were really rough globally. And what Emma said, she was like, what you get in a place like America that they're not used to with Trump happening, but what you get in 1979 with a global crisis of manufacturing, oil supply, and inflation, you get Jimmy Carter losing his job to Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you get in Yugoslavia is you get a dictator, iconoclast demagogue, and it starts going downhill. And she said, you always look for extreme inflation,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you start getting the fascism because
Well,
fascists have not
yeah.
invented what they're talking about. They are
Sure.
taking the common storyline that we've always had,
Yeah.
which is outsiders, Jews,
Mm-hmm.
people of
Mm-hmm.
color, whoever,
Find someone
trans
to
people,
blame.
find
Find
somebody to
someone to
blame.
blame that is not the core of, and then also find people to be like, you're the real
You pr-
citizens of this country.
you protect free speech by limiting free speech. You do
Mm-hmm.
all of the things, and we've seen a
They're
pattern
like, hey,
throughout
are you
history.
losing shit?
Yes.
Is your life not as cushy as you want it to be? It's somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
You deserve better. Throw these hard concepts of morality, of diplomacy out the window in in choosing a, you know, sh,
Yeah.
guns ablazing kind of.
It's you kill baby Hitler, and it's basically like saying it's essentially like saying, well, what if George Clooney was never cast to play in the lead in Michael
Yeah,
Clayton?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would Brad Pitt have been as
Right.
good? I don't know. Probably it would have just
Yeah,
been a different looking thing.
yeah.
But you kill baby Hitler, somebody is going to fill that void that
Somebody would have
fascism
filled it.
is
It would have been a
creating.
different flavor,
Yes.
but it probably would have been just as bad.
Yeah. So all of that being said, and maybe there's a possibility it's not as bad, but there's no guarantee
But that
Holocaust
was
not happening
right.
if you kill baby Hitler.
That was my like takeaway in watching this film of like the would you go back in time to kill Hitler? Is I'm like, no, so what? You
Yeah.
can't control anything.
Yeah.
You control that one strand of 10 billion strands. Another strand is going to grow up in its place.
Yeah. Something is going to fill that void. The machine is already needing
Yeah.
the demagogue. So it's just a matter of who gets cast in that role.
But
But
unfortunately,
I
Dr.
do
Wyzak is like, fuck yeah, I'd kill Hitler.
I love the setup because he's like, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, John. I'm a man of medicine.
I love
I am
people.
told to do no harm. I expected to save lives and love people. Therefore,
Yep.
I'd have no choice but to kill the son of a bitch.
Fuck yeah, I'd kill
Fuck yeah.
Nostrovia.
John's
Skull.
yeah, Skull, Nostrovia. And John's like, you never get away alive. And he's like, doesn't matter. I'd kill the motherfucker. What's
Oh,
this about, John?
no. I know. Oh.
John goes home and gets a bolt action rifle.
Johnny got his gun,
Yep.
pulling the rifle down, starting to strip it down to carry it on a bus.
Boy, this is a different level of security. The fact that he's
Different
carrying
times.
just a bundle of rags shaped like a rifle
Yep.
through
Mhm.
downtown Portland, Castle Rock. Where are we? I don't know.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Some kind of bigger city.
It does seem like Portland.
Yeah.
It seems like oh, if this is his headquarters in Maine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But he goes to the little town hall or church or wherever they're having this next big rally,
It
and
was in
he
the night before.
sneaks in and sleeps up in the balcony
Isn't it crazy that like nobody knows like, hey, let's do a security sweep.
Or like,
Just
let's
different.
set up lights up in the balcony
I
because it's going to
know.
be, anyways,
Different times.
different times. And he also, we get a voiceover that he wrote Sarah a letter being like, by
Yes.
the time you read this, it'll be too late. I've already thought this power was a curse, but now I see it as a gift. You won't understand what I'm doing, I'm sure, but know that what
I
I'm
do
doing is right,
I do
and I've
kind of wish he
always
had
loved you.
I get the confession, but I do kind of wish he'd be like, hey, World War III.
I would
You
love a
know?
little bit more explanation because everybody knows what his power is.
But I think it's the Cassandra the Cassandra complex, the Cassandra thing of like you can explain till you're blue in the face, but people don't want to hear you.
Yeah,
You,
it's very
you
true.
know? Even people you love will be like, "Ooh, too dark."
Yeah.
Ew, no, 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 no. Please stop.
So this is okay. Cronenberg takes the okay. This is the car won't start trope.
Yeah, I
The
know.
I'm fumbling with bullets.
Fumbling with the
The
keys.
bolt won't
We just
work.
watched Wolf Creek. We just watched an hour and a half of that in Wolf Creek.
Yes. Okay.
Trying
Again,
to load that rifle.
not a gun expert, but I've been around guns a lot and people who have owned guns in my
Mhm.
family, and I can tell you when you are taking bullets to load into something, do not pour them into your palm like they're
No,
Skittles. Take them
no.
one at a time
One at a
and
time.
load them.
Load it. Next bullet. Load it. I mean, it's for the tension. And honestly, this scene is like a
Hmm.
masterclass in tension.
Yes,
Like this is up there with like Hitchcock and De Palma, and
totally.
it's just building like so he drops a bullet, but it gets like kicked under a chair. It's also the fact that it's all these people down below, and he's got like a balustrade kind of banister in front of
Uh-huh.
him with bunting on it. So it's like obscure. I love obscured vision. When
Hmm.
we watch Onibaba, the like see reveal hideness of all that bamboo
Yeah, of
is
the
like
wheat fields or rice. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
like is so evocative of like now you can see me, now you can't, like not showing the audience the whole picture
Hmm.
is so amazing for building suspense.
Agreed.
So he's just like peeking underneath the bunting, scanning the crowd. He's barely concealed and can
Uh-huh.
see like 20% of his target.
Yeah. Well, the whole event starts and there are guests brought up on stage where Stilson is speaking, including Sarah and little
He's like,
baby
hey, is that your
Denny.
baby? Hey, whose baby is this? Bring that
It's
baby.
Denny. Little Denny is up on stage with her, and finally John decides, all right, now's my time. He decides to stand up rather than
I
just
know.
fire through the railing.
I know. Well, he can't get a good view. He's got to like, I don't know, plant his feet, you
Yeah.
know.
And also, you got to think this through. Be ready to
I know
just
what
fire.
happens
Don't
after.
hesitate. Get a
Yeah.
bead. No matter who's shouting, just focus on your
Yeah.
target. And he doesn't. Sarah's like, Johnny! Right
Yeah,
when
I
he
know, of
stands
course.
up, he
He
fires
shoots
once.
he
Hmm.
shoots the podium,
Uh huh.
which this is like the choreography is really important because it has to like the first shot has to misfire because what happens next is I think fucking iconic. Martin Sheen, Greg Stilson, Judith, President Judith Bartlett to
Judith
be,
Bartlett. Yep.
takes that baby and uses it like a human shield.
Yes.
Snatches that baby out of Sarah's hands and is like, "Oh no, please don't shoot. Don't shoot this baby."
I love this ending. I love this so much that's the choice that Stilson would
Yeah,
make, and that
of course.
rather than him being shot,
Yes, yes. Death
it's
is not always the solution.
no,
Sometimes moral decisions require moral answers.
and it goes to the core of the theme of this movie is what do you do when given a choice between right
Yeah,
and wrong? And if you
yeah,
are a politician or a media figure, you are constantly controlling your own narrative. eventually, hopefully, people see the real you. But
Yeah.
if you're always crafting a brand,
Hmm.
it's really hard for people to ever see who you really are because you're putting
Yeah.
on hard hats and you're saying this about
I
yourself,
know. Right.
and
Right.
you
Yeah.
can
You're
bully
putting on
journalists
costumes of the all-American.
and you bully journalists into not running
Yeah.
stories about you. And here in this moment, he makes a moral choice
Yeah.
that is entirely protect myself is the utmost
Yeah.
moral good.
Yeah. And of course, somebody takes a picture of it,
Hmm.
manages to escape. Even his henchman is like, even his henchman is like, I didn't see anybody taking pictures.
Yeah, tough shit, my dude. Boy, you're a disappointment.
Yeah.
Which is heartening. I don't think that's how that normally works. I think people who are
No,
henchmen
I
are
think
like,
yeah,
I think they're
people that
sycophants
know how
through
the
and through.
sausage is made are like, or actually the ones helping do the
Yes.
dirt. They're like, well, just another day.
Yeah.
But it is this idea that like bullying an adult, bullying a journalist, buying votes, that's just par for the course.
Yeah.
But like throwing a baby in front of you is like where we draw the line
It's
collectively as
so
a
good.
society.
And Stilson runs over and like basically, Sonny, the bodyguard,
Sonny shoots
shoots
Johnny,
John,
like
who
full
falls
on point
down
blank.
onto the
Yeah.
pews below, is very
Brings
clearly
the
dying.
American flag down with
Yes.
him. Very Jurassic Park, this ending.
And Stilson grabs him by the lapel and is like, "What the? Because your problem, sort
Who
of
are you
thing." And
working
who are
for?
you working for? And John grabs his wrist in like his kind of final moments and sees this premonition of a Newsweek cover showing
I love it.
Stilson holding up the
Newsweek.
baby.
Ah!
And then it cuts to Stilson sitting alone in a dark motel room, putting a gun to his chin.
And then like splatter of blood over the Newsweek. And what is the God, I can't remember what was the title of the
Oh, I
article. It's
forget the
so
headline on
good.
it was
It's so good though. It's like no hope for Stilson or something like
yeah.
that.
And he says to Stilson, "It's over, you're finished." And he smiles, and then Sarah comes and cries over Johnny and hugs him and whispers, "I love you," as he dies.
Which apparently was an after, like she's kind of buried in his shoulder. And apparently that was like kind of an after decision because they
Oh.
needed because like this movie is very episodic.
Uh-huh.
It's like superhero gets origin story. Superhero learns how to control his powers. He solves a murder. He gets involved in an assassination. And Sarah's the through line throughout all this. She's in shot number two of this movie, and she's in the last shot. And so it needed that, like, I think in order for this movie not to feel like so episodic, it needed to have that completion with Sarah,
Yeah.
the emotional catharsis.
Well, shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
All right, how approachable is this movie if you are horror movie squeamish? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being you shouldn't watch this at all, with 10 being this is very accessible for the squeamish. I might give the Dead Zone like 8 out of 10 unflattering baby photo ops.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, I think this movie is
Yeah.
milder horror
Yeah.
wise than that. I think it's the Dodd storyline that's the
Yeah.
most horror because not only are we talking about a person
A
sexually
serial
assaulting and
killer.
murdering
Yeah.
young women and girls, we also see like this really elaborate death
Yeah.
and suicide of the killer. But other than that, I mean, this is a character story. It's very tense. It's very good. It is not body horror ish like Cronenberg stuff. I think it's not very escapist in this day and
Yeah.
age, but it's a really brilliant set of performances, especially by Christopher Walken. And Cronenberg is, yeah, he's firing on all cylinders in this movie. I think he's doing a great job. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Some mild jump scares, child endangerment, blood, suicide, sexual assault, and murder mentions. So there you go, 8 out of 10 for approachability. But to speak nothing of approachability, Cecil, how do you rate this as a horror film?
It's a tough one because I think this almost falls more into thriller
Yeah,
if it didn't have the quote supernatural elements to it.
yeah,
You know, um,
totally.
I, I think it's great. It's really good, and it's really amazing to see like peak Stephen King, peak David Cronenberg. So, but because it isn't as jump out and shout boo at you scary, I would
Uh-huh.
say like 7 out of 10. Stilson for president buttons.
Sure. Well, let's figure out what movie we're going to watch next. You've got a scare die. I've got a style die. We will roll those up and see what movie matches those two things. Cecil, on your scare die, if we roll a 1, our scare is haunted. 2, vampire. 3, cryptid. 4, wild card. 5, alien. 6, witchy. What is our scare?
That's a 2.
Vampire. Okay, we're going to match your vampire with the style that I roll. If I roll a 1, it's got to be black and white. 2, school days, something in an academic environment. 3, a movie for the squeamish, something very accessible for those who are horror averse. 4, a movie from the 2020s. 5, something that is horror homework, like a must see if you're a horror fan. 6, something set in the American South. All right, here we go. I got a 6, American South vampire.
Oh.
Okay, how
Now,
exciting. Well,
there's like one big one that comes to mind, but there are a few ones, a few
yes.
others that we wanted to spread the love to.
Yeah, and we wrote down a few ideas for us, and then we also are at Random Horror 9 on Letterboxd, and you can see all of the possible under our lists. You can see all of the possible die roll matchups, and you can leave comments for movies you think would fit those things. So let's talk about the ones we wrote. I mean, I think the obvious one is Interview with the Vampire.
It's yes,
Yes, there's not much
yes.
else to say there.
It's like it has 3 locations, and a third of the movie takes place in New Orleans.
Uh-huh. We've also got a recent movie, kind of horror comedy in Renfield.
Yeah, another New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. I mean, New Orleans is the place where you do vampire. If you're going to have
Yeah,
American Vampire, I know we've had Vampires versus the Bronx, Vampire in
sure.
Brooklyn, but like
Yeah,
New Orleans, like
yeah.
it's, yeah,
It's a spooky town. It's a
it's a,
town that embraces its spookiness.
yes. We've also got Dracula 2000.
I think this is the like, is this a Wes Craven?
It is not Wes
Oh,
Craven,
okay.
uh, but it is a, let's see, where is, this was set in, oh yeah,
I think it is. It's
Dracula
set.
arrives in New Orleans. So it's a New
Yeah.
Orleans thing. It stars Gerard Butler and
Oh
Johnny
yeah,
Lee Miller.
sure.
We've also got Son of Dracula.
I think I put this on here.
I'm going to assume this is the,
So this is the
New Orleans.
1943 movie starring Lon Chaney,
Mhm.
in which Count Alucard comes out of a lake in his coffin and makes a Southern belle his bride. So like Dracula vampire meets Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
Y'all bring back just spelling Dracula backwards as a trope
I
for
know.
what his
I
name is.
love it.
Alucard.
Dr. Acula.
And then finally, questionably American South is Near Dark. Because Near Dark takes place in
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
because it's like Texarkana, Texas, right?
Well,
Texas.
Texarkana is not Oklahoma. Like Texoma is a border town, but are they Texarkana? I thought it was like Oklahoma. I thought they were like in
No.
yeah. I think they're in Oklahoma, but
It's kind of like the American South, and that like cowboys are in the South.
yeah, it's a little southish. I had posted on our Patreon when I had mentioned that we added American South to the die, and I said I'm going with the rule that if you have a school in the Southeastern Conference, you're part of the South, which would put
Mm-hmm.
Texas and Oklahoma both have schools. And then
Yes.
somebody chimed in and said West Virginia is in the SEC, and the reason West Virginia exists is because they didn't want to be part of the South,
I
so we
know,
can't
but it
quite.
is the South.
It
Because
is
you
kind
better
of.
you better believe if we had rolled the Mothman prophecies, I would have fought real hard. If we had rolled cryptid, I would have been like,
Because
we're doing the Mothman prophecies.
geographically, definitely not the South. Culturally, West Virginia, Western Maryland, and
Yeah.
Central PA
Yeah.
are the American South.
Yeah. You can call it mid-Atlantic all you want. I get it.
Um, okay, so those are the ones that we have on our list. Let's check out Letterboxd and see what people have to say.
Monstrum recommends Dracula 2 Ascension from 2003.
Okay.
A sequel that they feel is better than the original, as it's a sequel to Dracula 2000, featuring self-flagellating priests, a bunch of sexy med students, some great death scenes, also set in New Orleans. Kraken Bananas recommends Slay from 2024. A group of
Oh,
drag queens book a gig in a small town bar, and vampires show up. Chaos ensues. Basically, From Dusk Till Dawn meets RuPaul's Drag Race. They say they don't think they ever say where the bar is, but it feels deep south. It feels Southern American gay bar.
oh, interesting. Okay, that looks
King
fun.
and Commodore recommends Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Believe it or not, it's set in Florida. The Wolfman tries to warn a dim-witted porter that Dracula wants his brain for Frankenstein monster's body. Uh, I've never seen an Abbott and Costello movie
I'm
ever.
gonna say I'm taking this suggestion very seriously. I think this is a really interesting like early horror comedy, which we have not
I
done.
know.
Early horror
Yeah.
comedy.
Like, what if scary but funny?
We've done a lot of modern meta horror
Yeah.
comedies. Tucker and
Transylvania 6
Dale.
5000.
Oh yeah, there's one or like yeah, spoofs. We haven't but we've done like Tucker and Dale versus Evil and
Sure.
we did what's the serial killer mockumentary
Oh,
where they're following
not man bites dog, is it?
No, it was a comedy.
No.
We did it for Patreon. I always forget the name of it. It's in motherfucker.
I can't remember. Is it American?
Oh yeah. It was so
Creep?
American.
No.
Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie
Oh,
Vernon.
that's it. That's
Yes.
it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
We've done a few of those types of movies, and even like Your Next is a very
Hmm.
kind of comedic horror sort of thing.
Yeah, but we've never done the OG, the old
Mm-mm,
school.
mm-mm. All right, good suggestion. I like it. All right, sorry, Cecil. Just you can keep going there.
Ace Diamond recommends The Night Flyer from 1997. A sleazy tabloid reporter chases a serial killer who drains their victim's blood. He starts to wonder if his quarry is in fact a real vampire. He gets his answer when he tracks the killer to North Carolina.
That's interesting because it's not New Orleans.
I know.
Yeah.
Fifth Hammer recommends Dead of Night from 1974. When a soldier reappears at his parents' home, there is a relief because they have been told he died in Vietnam. Soon, as his actions become strange, tensions rise in the family and among the townspeople. Uh-oh. Did he get a monkey's paw? Did he bring a monkey's paw along with him?
Boy, I hope so.
Fifth Hammer also recommends Bloodsuckers from Outer Space, 1984. An alien force hits rural Texas, turning people into bloodthirsty killers. As locals begin to investigate, a photographer and his girlfriend find themselves in danger of becoming another pair of bloodsuckers.
Nice.
Suspicious Beans recommends Lamora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural from 1973. Takes place during Prohibition in the American South. A notorious gangster kills his wife and her lover, who then goes on the run. But he's soon caught by a mysterious group, their leader, Lamora, who sends a letter to his young daughter stating he is about to die and needs to see her. Dreamlike, full of creeps, like a bluegrass fairy tale. This sounds really interesting.
This does sound interesting. I have never heard of this.
Now, is it streaming?
It is streaming. I mean, it's on like Tubi.
Okay, sure. We'll take
Um,
it.
it's got a cast and a director I've never heard of. It has an 83% Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting. Like, it really sounds like, I mean, the 70s were a wild time for filmmaking. And they're like, hey, what if we made a vampire film that is not Dr. Acula, you know, doing his thing?
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, this looks a little wild. There's a lot of text in the trailer for this.
Okay, okay. This
Okay.
is an interesting suggestion. Amy recommends Sinners from 2025 because at the time of filming or taping, Sinners comes out like this week in movie theaters. And it takes place in the American South. It's in like Jim Crow South. It's got creepy vampires, starring Michael B. Jordan playing vampire hunter twins, if we're understanding. But like this movie is like coming out this weekend. So this would give us an opportunity to go see something in the movie theaters and then talk about it.
That's interesting. Yeah, we are quite a
And
few weeks
honestly,
ahead in our recording. So yeah, this movie is
yeah.
coming out on this week, April 18th is when we're
And
recording.
the as we're not future psychics like Christopher Walken in the Dead Zone, we don't know how this movie is, but a lot of the buzz has been really good about it.
It
People are
looks
like,
fun and
they're like,
interesting.
this movie is super sexy, a lot of fun. It's like I remember seeing the preview and was like, this looks like From Dusk Till Dawn, but Jim Crow South. And
I'm into
honestly,
that. Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm here for it.
same.
And that's it. And I think all the rest are the sort
Uh,
of secondings of things.
Secondings of
Yeah,
certain things. All right, I clocked like five that are really interesting to me. Actually, I clocked
yeah.
six, including Near Dark, but Near Dark, as people have confirmed here on the
Is it not
Letterboxd,
streaming right
not
now?
still not streaming.
It's it'll be available for it's like Near Dark and The Devils are like the two that
Yeah,
it's like if they're out, you have to watch them because they'll be out for a day and then they'll go away forever.
we didn't roll horror homework, but I think
No,
a horror homework on here is Interview with the Vampire.
absolutely.
I think it's a really key 90s movie. I think
Yep.
it's a really key Anne Rice novel. It is,
It's one of the biggest budget horror movies ever
yes,
made.
yes. I have not seen it since it was in the theater. I remember
Oh,
finding it
really?
sort of boring, but also it was 1995 and I was
Yeah.
like 20. So
I
I
think I've watched
probably
it
just
more
wasn't, yeah,
recently,
I don't think I was thinking much
but it's
of
been a minute.
this.
It's been a minute.
So I would love to rewatch this movie.
Sure.
I, boy, that's a strong case for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
I know.
Maybe also horror homework because it's old school horror
It is.
comedy. Yeah.
I think it's more comedy. It's comedy that has
It's making fun of the horror.
monsters. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's a horror spoof. Like I think
Yeah.
Scary, this is the 1940s version of Scary Movie.
Yeah. Renfield, I think Renfield is more in the horror comedy world.
Yes.
And I saw it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like, "Oh my God, this movie changed my life." But I was like, "That was fun.
Yeah.
That was cool." Dracula
Lamora.
2000.
Mhm.
Okay. I was gonna
Oh,
say Dracula 2000 couldn't get any more of its time.
yes.
And it sounds like Lamora is going to be that weird, like maybe didn't do very good in its time because it's maybe is trying to do something so different.
Yeah. It's really interesting like how um it's very interesting like that just a movie that I've never heard of just popping up like that.
I
Maybe
know,
a
right?
lot of you have heard of this. And then I would say Sinners is really appealing. I mean, it's
Here's the thing. I know I walked into this thinking Interview and the Vampire was going to be the clear and obvious winner.
yeah.
I think we should do Sinners just because it fits the brief.
Yeah.
And it gives us an opportunity to go see something in the movie theater.
We've only done that once before because we did that for Beau is Afraid. We had to go see that in the theater when we covered it
That's
for
right,
this
we
show.
did. Yeah.
Hold on.
And I think this is going to be a fun watch. Again, like this is the kind of movie that like is a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch in a movie theater.
Yes. And unlike Beau is
That's my vote.
Afraid, this is under
Oh God.
200 minutes long.
Oh my God.
It's an hour 17, or I'm sorry, 217,
It probably doesn't have Patty LaPone in it though.
which is a drawback,
I know. That's a minus one. But
but
I think Interview with the Vampire will still be there.
uh-huh,
I mean,
totally.
I don't know. I think we should do the take the curveball suggested by Amy, I think.
Yeah, it does have Delroy Lindo in it too.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah. I'm very excited about. Yeah, this movie, I finally saw a preview for this movie last week and was like, "Oh, hell yeah, this looks fun."
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh yeah, let's go. Let me try and take notes at a opening weekend of
You
a
should just
movie.
have your talk to text out and just do talk to text the entire time. I'm sure everyone else in the movie theater will appreciate your insight.
Oh, they will absolutely love it. They'll be like, "Oh my God, that's a great point that guy just made. I
Jeffrey,
should
just
listen to
go.
his podcast."
You should just go. Do you have a podcast? You should no, just go to a matinee. Go to the first show on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and you'll
Oh
probably be the
yeah.
only person there.
Yeah, that's true. And then I can just talk all I want.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, great. Hold on, let me back up just a second because I want to look
I
at
checked. It is like the show times, or we can put this in here or not, but the show times I can.
yeah. Well, that's
It
I
opens
love
this
it. I'm
weekend.
excited to get to go see a contemporary in the theaters movie. I want to thank Amy on Letterboxd for that suggestion. Would have never thought of that. I think that's so good. So thank you, Amy, and thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on The Dead Zone or ideas for movies you would have chosen for Vampire in the American South, let us know at Random Horror 9 on Blue Sky, Instagram, or Patreon. And on our Patreon, we have public discussion threads for every episode, and you don't have to be a paying member to participate. So go watch Sinners. I mean, at the time this episode comes out, I don't know, it might be in that weird limbo between theater and streaming. I'm not
Maybe.
sure how that will work, but watch Sinners if you can with us this week and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no milk diesel putting you in a coma or nothing. Boo.
Boo.